going on YouTube? Today I wanted to bring to you all the 10 fountain pens that I've accumulated in my search for an extra fine nib as an artist on a budget. Okay, your girl is on a budget. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about the one with thinnest line because finally, it took me 9 pens later to figure it out. I don't want you to have to go through that. And also some of the cons that nobody talks about in these popular like fountain pens, and it's annoying day-to-day writing. When you're writing using them day-to-day, these things can be kind of... But yeah, so let's get straight into the video. And I will say this is my first video. You know, I hope you couldn't tell, but yeah. All right, so here you can see the list of pens that I'll go down. And so we got the Sailor Fude, the Mannen 55-degree nib and the 40-degree nib. I have 2 Temu fountain pens that I got for $2. One is a fine nib, the other is extra fine, but this extra fine writes more like a fine. The Twisbi Eco fountain pen, extra fine. Lamy Safari, fine. And I would have gotten the extra fine, but the comparisons that I see between the extra fine and the fine nib of the Lamy Safari, you can hardly tell the difference. And then I have the Platinum Preppy fountain pen, extra fine. The Muji Aluminum fountain pen, which is a fine nib. And the Asvine Forest fountain pen, extra fine nib as well. And then I have a Pilot Kakuno fountain pen, extra fine nib. Alright, so here's a close-up of the different line varieties that you can get with each pen. And with the groups of circles, this was a heavier handed, you know, just drawn circles. And then on the right side, a lighter hand with the intent of making the circle smaller. So you can kind of see like the Platinum Preppy, that's definitely smaller than the Lamy Safari, you know. Okay, and this is another demonstration of the variety of lines, but more so to compare the line width to the other fountain pen widths. So if you see, like the Twisbi Eco Extra Fine is practically the same size as the Lamy Fine. So that was disappointing for me because the Twisbi Extra Fine was my second pen, and I had hoped that it would be smaller than the Lamy Fine. But if anything, yeah, it looks to be the same size. And you can see like the Sailor Fude, the Mannen, the bent nibs. Holding it regular is just me holding it at a comfortable angle. And straight up, that's a thin line. That's a pretty thin line, which is why I included it in this video. All right, so first up on the list, I have the Sailor Fude, the Mannen. Pros about these: the variety of lines that you can get with these. You see? And like that is a thin line. And same thing with the 40-degree nib, just not a thick line, right? Now my cons about these, they don't have a clip. As you can see, they keep rolling away. And they just feel cheap. They really feel cheap. And most of these pens that I'm showing today, they do not come with converters. One does, and that'll be a part of one of the pros of it. But yeah, that's the Sailor Fude and Mannen. All right, next up, I have the 2 Temu pens. Okay, I paid $2 for these on Temu. This is supposed to be the extra fine, but it does not really seem like an extra fine. It seems more like a fine. And I mean, maybe if you turn it backwards, you know, you can turn it backwards and get a finer line than the fine. But okay, and con with this, it was great. It was lovely. It was so awesome, especially for $2. But one day I was lining some of my art, and then some ink just like dripped on the artwork, and I never used it since. And I only filled it up for this video. And then with this Temu fine, I love it. I like the way that it writes better than my Twisbi Eco, honestly. It has a smooth feeling. It hasn't like leaked or anything. And like, yeah, the cap, but honestly, that hasn't impacted any ink getting anywhere for me. And it's only $2. I can't stress enough that this is only $2. So if you really want a fountain pen, I'd say go on Temu and try out theirs, because you see how much ink this can hold too? Like, I feel like this is just something you gotta get. If you got $2 and you're just starting out with fountain pens, get this. Alright, and so for this next pen, you all know what the Twisbi Eagle is. That is one of those pens that every YouTuber recommends in the budget videos. My pros with this, the ink capacity, and it looks cool, and it's definitely built better, like a better plastic than this Temu one, right? My issues with this that nobody seems to talk about, the grip on here when your hands get sweaty, it's gonna be annoying. And also another thing, the twist cap. I'm not too big of a fan of twist caps on some of my fountain pens, just because like I take this to work and I use it day to day, and having a twist and then untwist, it's annoying. I don't understand why other people don't really say anything about it. Like, I understand that it keeps it sealed, but that brings me to my next pen. The Lamy Safari, right? This thing is good. One, the grip on here is triangular. And so if you have the regular, I don't know what kind of grip they call this, but if you have this type of grip, it's probably best that you get a triangular one. And I know that they make it, the Lamy, with a triangular grip, but why does everyone recommend? I don't know. Nobody ever really talks about how, they always talk about how this type of grip is, kind of uncomfortable for people. But nobody talks about how the circular grip might be uncomfortable for some people. But yeah, I really like the Lamy. This build quality, I do say it's about $30. These are both about $30. This is $30. This is $25 until you buy the converter. But yeah, Lamy is definitely, they did their thing. And you can see that the line is it's not fine enough. It was my first fountain pen, but definitely the line, I needed a thinner line. Oh, and I also wanted to mention, I mentioned it earlier in the video, but the line is not as fine as I'd hoped it would have been, right? And I'll show you guys compared to the Lamy fine. Like, why does the Lamy fine almost look finer in the first few strokes? It looks finer, in the second few strokes it looks a little bit thicker. But yeah, that's also a con that I wasn't the biggest fan of with this. It's a great pen, but definitely be aware that if you ever sweat with your hands, this round grip is not it. It not having any type of engraving, or I don't know what they call it, but it just, I don't like that it doesn't have any type of grip. All right, next up on the list is a Platinum Preppy. Definitely a fine line. I'll say that. Definitely a fine line. You can get some really, like, look at that. That's beautiful. This provides a fine line. Pros price, I think, is like $6. And cons, I mean, for $6, you kind of can expect some cheap quality. But I've heard people say that it breaks easy too, so maybe that's something to think about. But the nib is great. The nib is great, but it's not the smallest nib. That will be the last one that I'll go over. All right, and currently, this Muji aluminum fountain pen is my favorite pen. I just think for drawing, it is just like, it's like you're sketching with a pen. Like, in the variety of lines that you can get with it, like if you put a little pressure on it, you see how thick that gets? But like, yeah, and then you can even do tinier lines. It's a wonderful pen, and it looks heavier than it is. Like, when I held it, I was like, this is light, because I had thought that maybe it would be like the Asvine Forest pen, This is a wonderful pen, but it's definitely a bit heavier than a lot of my other plastic pens. But if you're an artist, I highly recommend this Muji pen. You know, you just have so much control over it. It's lightweight, like it's sleek. It even has the grip, you know. I talked about the grip that the Twisbi Eco does not have. And yeah, I really like this nib. All right, and then you have probably heard of the Asvine Forest fountain pen. This is an extra fine nib, and it actually had me content for a little bit until I wanted to go thinner. But it's a nice quality pen, and a pro about this, it comes with a converter. You have everything that you'll need. It comes with a converter, you know. I haven't had any issues. It looks beautiful. The build quality is great. It's just a wonderful pen. All right, and so for the final pen, it would be the Kakuno. This has the thinnest extra fine line compared to the Preppy, compared to the Twisbi Eco extra fine. This Kakuno has the smallest or thinnest extra fine nib. And I'll show. Like, it might be a little bit harder to see from far away, but this is the Preppy. Don't mind my shaky hand. But yeah, I did a comparison of all of these, and the Kakuno is definitely the smallest, the thinnest, extra fine. I have made a price chart, and I have put all of the fountain pens to its corresponding name in case you all want to search up a certain pen that you saw in the video that you liked. I have the nib size, and then the price of, you know, the pen without a converter added to it, the price of a converter, or a price range of a converter, or if it's needed, and then just kind of like the final price. So say you have the fountain pen in your cart and you also have the converter in your cart. All right, so to summarize the video, the fountain pen with the thinnest line is going to go to the Kakuno. Okay? The Preppy is the second thinnest, but out of all these pens, Kakuno has the thinnest line. All right? My Temu Fine fountain pen, I love it. I like the way that the nib writes better than I like the Twisbi nib. Twisbi, I don't know. You guys it might start getting annoying having to twist on and twist off. Like, yeah, it'll keep the ink from coming out, but why do that when you can just buy something that has a lid that's made without having the twist? Even the Asvine, you know what I'm saying? And the Asvine, it comes with ink converter already, so you wouldn't have to go out your way to buy it. Sailor Moon, a strong variety of lines, just cheap. Muji, it looks a lot heavier than it actually feels. It's so light. It's like, this is what I thought this was gonna feel like, but no, it's like the grip. You have the grip on it, like you're sketching. It's perfect pen for artists, I swear. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. This concludes my video. And if you have any more questions, just shoot me a comment. I don't have that many subscribers, so it's not like that I'll, you know. But yeah, I just know when I was looking at YouTube videos trying to figure out, like, okay, I want an extra fine, but which extra fine has a fine nib? And like, you know, people say the Twisbi had an extra fine, and because it's a Japanese pen, so I thought it's the same size as the Lamy Safari Fine. Don't believe them, okay? And just like people talk about the Preppy, people would talk about the Kakuno, both of these having fine lines, and some would say, oh yeah, the Platinum Preppy is known to have a fine line. It is known to have a fine line, but is it finer than the Kakuno? You wouldn't know, because they never compared the two. They only tell you about one, you know what I mean? And yeah, and I'd highly recommend going on Temu and getting Wonderful.